Well, my name is Charles, I'm 29. I've been living in Brixton for 3 years, working with the Brixton Pound. My guess is that the council had been in touch with him for a long time before we as a population heard of him. You know, this guy obviously, he's a self-made man. He ran a business very well. He earned millions by just taking his own decision when he wanted to. And I think he believes in this kind of individual success.
So my name is Paweł. I work for the Lambeth Council as Waste Development Officer. I've been doing this job for the last 6 years, and I live in the area for about 10 years now. Obviously there is some rules put in place which supposedly will stop him from personally profiting on that information. However, there is nothing really to stop this information being transferred to someone else, and then if you have access to that information, you can bid for certain services which will be more profitable than the other services. It's a problem.
My name's James Duggan. I've been in Brixton, I think, about a week now, so I'm taking a bit of time out from work. I used to do a bit of research, but that got a bit boring, so I went on a world tour. America, spent a few months there, Australia, India, France, just anywhere I wanted to go really. Yeah, I think it's this guy, Terry Veblen, or Veblen, I think. You know, at the beginning, it sounds like there was quite a bit of, a bit of controversy. There's people wondering who this guy was who's taken over the tax system, but I think most people have settled down.
My name is Leah and I live in Lambeth and I'm a trainee solicitor. Actually, in my workplace, it highlighted some gender pay imbalances. If you have this kind of power over public expenditure, that you should be elected.
My name's Jerry. I'm a community development worker in Lambeth. I've lived here for 28 years now. Valiant effort, and it shows such promise just by virtue of the fact there's more information. If there's more information, more can be done with it.
It's a great idea, and this app is giving a lot of insight in how the taxes are being spent, although the people who tend to be using this app are the people who were already interested in this sort of issues.
It seems to have settled down. People seem to have just accepted it. You know, they add it all up and see if it's been a success and whether the guy will get paid. I mean, it sounds like if, a lot less tax has been paid, then he'll take a bit of a financial hit, and it's unlikely that, he'll want to keep doing that. So I think it could just disappear.
Well, it gives people an opportunity to say what they want to do with the money they're paying, the tax money they're paying.
Transparency, I think, is the real benefit here. Whereas before, back in the bad old days, but at the last recession, for example, it was really like getting blood out of a stone trying to find tax information from the big corporates. And now we know that actually some of the big corporates are really good and very socially responsible.
Like when you go to America, tax is added. So I came to Brixton and I was expecting, home to be home, even if it's Brixton and, I'm from Manchester. And there was the price, and then on top of that, I was being charged 15% extra. And so that was quite surprising for me. I was like, this is unusual, what's happened? So you know, I asked some of the shopkeepers. So I thought they were kind of trying to rip me off a little bit. You know, everyone's a bit hard up now, but I thought, you know, what's this? But apparently, yeah. So there's a tourist tax. So basically, if you're not from Lambeth, you're charged more.
Just tax system is the application will give you lots of influence on how the tax is spent within your local area, and will let me decide how my taxes can be spent. My first impression was that it can't work. It's pretty much not possible that it will work. But over the time, after ironing out some issues, then it seems to be having its place.
I was not very convinced at first, and I have to say I'm not convinced now.
And it's developed the technology so that as you're spending money, you can see how much tax is going back into Lambeth coffers. Should be helpful. And then there's that app, your ideas about what you'd like tax to be spent on, and then you can kind of see how the council is spending it. What evidence is there? I love a bit of evidence. What evidence is there that it's actually going all the way through? So I don't know if with the review might clarify some of those, you know, that movement of money. Is it actually, does it do what it says on the tin?
So, you know, a picture comes up and you've got your tax credits, you know, swipe yes or no, and it basically allocates where your tax goes, like on an individual basis. I mean, I think that's what you get the impression. Whether that actually happens, I'm not sure. They're happy just to think it's a nice thing to let's support this or let's support that. But
I know some people which live on the estate nearby me, and they never heard about this app.
The problem we've had, for example, we can see that in the last year, the roads have not been very much taken care of, and that's probably because people will give their tax money to orphanage or homeless people.
You know, the probation service, I've heard, is now, you know, struggling for funds because people don't want to rehabilitate offenders. You know, they don't want any money going to offenders, you know, because they've broken the law and, you know, they're not contributing to society. So, you know, they don't see why they should give back, but then that's a really important service.
Because it seemed like a very kind of localised approach to tax.
Oh, I can't be the only person that has this conflict between local and less local. You see something and, you know, it's a crater outside your house, boom, that goes straight in. 2 doors down, you think, oh, you know, maybe they can wait. Then trying to balance, you know, the crater outside your house with sort of this looming feeling of social ill behind you, that there's probably lots of people that really need something more than a pothole fixed. And I think I don't really have that information. It's getting quite protectionist.
They're trying to kind of like visualise it in ways that help people, but I think most people just want to go around, you know, get on with their lives, you know. I mean, I've heard people say, you know, kind of make a show of, you know, I'm giving this, you know, kind of like you're quite a worthy thing, like you're donating to sort of like, you know, like a disaster relief fund or something like that. But, you know, I think that's kind of settled down. People got a little bit bored of that, you know, just, you know, being a bit kind of like showy with, you know, how they're allocating their tax.
You're looking at it and you're thinking, well, that affects me, it affects me, it affects me. Maybe some more information about the impact it's having on other people as well.
Quite well organized and influential, so they managed to get lots of the lots of money being spent in that area just because they all use this app. And like my friends from the estate, they weren't able to get people to, you know, even know about this app, so they are losing out.
The fact that now I can actually feel as though I have some influence over it is better than it was before.
The problem is that it is to individual decide what to do with the tax money, where I think the community should decide. There should be a second step where the community has a look at where each community member wants to give the money, and then based on where the money goes, try and have this suit the community needs.
Again, context is king. I think that's what it is. We've got to recognise that his interests are vested. His own income is achieved through raising everyone else's income. So as long as people are aware that that's what his push will be, you know, it's his job. He can get on with that. But it is the job of us as the residents and the spenders, and kind of, I guess, a sort of bulk scrutiny function of how the council is spending that money, that we are responsible for making sure that it is fair.
People who don't spend as much money feel like they can't have as much influence on how on public spending.
It's not only create gentrification, but it also creates it accelerates the social divide.
They're not making much money out of me in terms of what I earn. So, I mean, how many things I'm going to be able to fix with this is quite limited.
The fact that now I can actually feel as though I have some influence over it is better than it was before.
Well, it gives people an opportunity to say what they want to do with the money they're paying, the tax money they're paying, which is an improvement from what we used to do before. Because in, I don't know, 2010, for example, people paid the tax money, and then the council decided what they wanted to do with that money, and people couldn't decide. So the app seems to be an improvement.